How's things going with you? Good?
It's going great, man. Pardon my driving.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. So let's talk
I'm a
about,
busy man.
yeah, I can assume that. New album coming out October 17th, Divided We Fall. Let's talk a little bit about that. How was it to get back with the guys in the room and working on some new material?
It was awesome. It, I I had moved on and did a bunch of different bands, Power Flow and Billy Bio about, but those it was kind of like you're in a relationship and maybe the sex is amazing, but everything else just and sometimes you need some time apart to understand the value of what you had. And I think in the 90s, there was a time when we were a young band that toured constantly for, for months and months and months. We were these young kids from Brooklyn that would go on tour once in a while. And eventually we became a band that was touring all the time. And we'd go back to Brooklyn once in a while. And that got it kind of weighed a lot, put a lot of weight on our relationships and strain and just individually. And I think that we should have, if we would have taken some time off between, at least one of the records, two of the records, we would had probably survived more. Um, and what I think this did for us in the past 10 years was, you know, for me, going on and playing with other musicians and other artists and having other bands, it kind of, as much as I love it and enjoy it and I'll always do it, it made me miss a lot of those moments with Biohazard. So time away, we grew fonder of those moments. And when we eventually got back together, it felt like it was at the beginning. All the things that bothered us didn't weren't so significant anymore. We didn't care. And that was a the first catalyst that maybe kind of juiced the rocket a little bit. And then we went on, we first got together just playing music. We grabbed something to eat and we jammed in a room. Then we played a show in Milwaukee that was super raw and very unrehearsed, but authentic and real. And it reminded me a lot of the early days of the band. And that is something that I loved and earned to have that kind of raw energy. And then we played more shows, and I thought maybe this is fun. But eventually, somebody's gonna, maybe me or somebody else is gonna say something stupid, or there's gonna be a stupid argument over something ridiculous. But that never happened, and we just kept having more and more fun. And I don't think, bro, in the early days, I don't ever remember high fiving each other on stage. We enjoyed it, we loved it, but that enjoyment of good vibes, it was covered up with a lot of angst, a lot of anger, a lot of just shit that we were going through as kids. And I think now as adults, we not that I didn't enjoy it back in the 90s, but we enjoy it more now.
Yeah, I think you're much more mature, so you're able to enjoy the little things a little bit more. And I think that's a cool aspect of it. And when I was listening to this album, I felt like you guys really captured the essence of what the band was and what fans want the band to be, as far as the sound on this record is concerned. Did you guys have a game plan, if you will, when you decided to go into the studio, make a new record on what you wanted the sound on this album to be?
No, Biohazard we're not a game pan. Sorry, sun is coming up in the east. Um, we're not a kind of planning type of band. We don't work well with that kind of organization, unfortunately, because I do personally in my businesses and my own shit I got going on in my life. I like that. I like organization and order and structure. But with Biohazard, something about the band, we do better when we're just left to our own devices. So there was no plan for anything. The only thing was, the most important thing was just, how do we feel with each other? And our friend Drew captured, he was there along for the ride and has been there since the beginning. And 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And he came out, he was in LA. We all met up and jammed. And he did a lot of our old videos. So he's been around us for years, a good friend. He captured all this on film. And so we're putting some stuff out soon. But bro, when I look back and watch it, and he captured that emotion. I still remember it, seeing Evan for the first time in 12 years or whatever, and Bobby, who I hadn't seen it in a long time. Danny and I always stayed in touch. Every time I would come through town with Power Flow or Billy Bio, he'd come on stage. We'd do a Biohazard song. So, and we're close, so we would talk often. But he captured these great moments of us playing Punishment for the first time together in years. So it's a really cool thing, and I think the fact that we just go with the flow keeps it real for us. There's no, it's not a business. It's not, there's the business side of things, but that's never been our motive, and that's never been our focus. It's always been the vibe of the band, the music, and what we do together.
And I think that is one of the reasons why Biohazard has that sense of uniqueness to it, and it is what it is, and it speaks to so many people, especially someone like me. I mean, I'm a huge Biohazard fan. I was so excited when I got to listen to the new record. For me, the new record, musically, even vocally, lyrically, you guys have always been super consistent in terms of bringing what's on the table around the world today and what's around your own lives and bringing that to the forefront. But I felt like this album musically kind of sat somewhere in between Urban Discipline and State of the World Address, which to me are two iconic records that you guys, it's hard for me to pick number one and number two on the discography. So I feel like the new record kind of sits in between those two. Is that for you the pinnacle of what Biohazard sound is, the merger of those two albums?
I think that was when we were at the top of our game, and we set the bar for ourselves. And here's an interesting twist that I've realized recently about my music and our music, right? Biohazard and me as a songwriter. My MO, what makes me tick, what makes me fucking get up every morning and go, is always trying to be a better version of myself yesterday. And what I did yesterday, I want to outdo today. It's the drive I have inside of me, and it transcends over all aspects of my life. How I am in my in my relationships, how I deal with business, how I am as a creative. And when I do that, it's a feeling of growth and accomplishment that I strive to always try to outdo, right? Sorry, dude, it's traffic here. It's crazy. But with that, as a creative, you end up, I think, looking back now, it's like we did this interview. Here's a great story. And I owe this realization to two people. And the first one is our producer. We worked with Matt Hyde on this record, and we were working with him for a while. We were still on tour, and we were exchanging some ideas, and like, these are some ideas we had. What do you think? And I had a conversation with him, and he said, "Listen, I love what you do with Billy Bio. I would love to work with you as a solo artist, and the band's great. I love Power Flow. I love Sendog. I did the first Cypress Hill records, the demos. I absolutely love Power Flow. But we're doing a Biohazard record here, and I don't need you to be Billy Biohazard in 2022 or 2023. I need you to be Billy Biohazard in 1993. And I'm like, what do you mean, bro? I said, I grew so much as an artist. I learned so much. I became more prolific as a writer. I could express myself better. All the ideas that were inside of me came out in a more in a stronger way. All these things, I learned all these techniques of singing so I could scream and yell and not lose my voice. Blah blah blah. And he said, exactly. I want you to forget all that stuff because you learned that after you guys made the most pinnacle records of your career. That's what established you as Biohazard back in the early 90s. And you guys made such great music. You created a band that people that follow you fucking love. So I think that drive in me for always trying to outdo what I did yesterday, and that goes for writing as songs. I always want to try to, and what that kind of did, I think, was it pushed me away from what I originally did. And I never tried to intentionally like be different. I always let my influences come out. That's it. I don't try to write. I don't try to be metal or heavy or hardcore or punk. Whatever comes out, comes out. But I think that drive pushed me away a little bit from those earlier days, which I love. It came from us. And here's the other side of it. And sorry to talk, dude, so much, but it's a great, interesting story. We're on tour with Slayer. It was in the early 90s, mid 90s. And I did an interview. And when Matt Hyde told me this while we were working on this record, I remember the story about Kerry King. So we were on tour with Slayer. We were playing in New York, and Kerry and I did an interview with this Guitar World magazine, and the editor and writer was this guy Jeff Kitts. And Jeff sat us down, and he said, "Listen, he did it. I never did this before, ever since then or before that. He interviewed us side by side, and he asked us questions. This one question he asked, he said, "Hey, I'm going to ask you guys the same question, a little bit of a twist on it, but I want to hear your individual takes on the same question." And he said, "Billy, every record you guys make, you do a Biohazard record, and it sounds a little, it's a little different. It sounds like Biohazard, but it's a little different." And I said to him, "Yeah, of course." I said, "Why? I don't want to write the same record twice. I've tried to do something a little different and let it grow. You know, I want to grow as an artist and as a songwriter." And he said, "All right, fair enough." And then he said, "Kerry, when I get a Slayer record, I know it's going to be a Slayer record. It's always sounds like Slayer. And sometimes there's more songs that resonate with me than other records, but it's always Slayer. I know what I'm getting." And Kerry said, "Yeah, of course. I know what our fans like, and I know what to give them." And at the time, I didn't hear and understand why he would want to do that as an artist. But now that I'm older and realized what we created back then was something that resonated in most of our audience and our fans and ourselves, I realized what I did was try to push the band and try to push myself as a writer beyond what our real meat and potatoes of the band was. And so there was moments, and I'm proud of all the records and songs I wrote over the years, but there was moments that shined a lot. And there was moments that kind of touched on the earlier roots, but looking back, and this is the longest answer to a great question you had. Looking back now, bro, we touched on so many moments that signified a very poignant part of our lives. And the songs that we wrote back then are still as pertinent and real and meaningful today. So that realization helped me bring myself back to that era of the band and that time frame for myself. And so a lot of bands say shit like, "Oh, we went back to our roots," and I get it, and I've even said that before. But this is the true essence. you don't go back to your roots. You get rid of all the extra outside noise and let those roots shine again. And that's what we did. It's like not brushing your teeth for a couple of years and going to the dentist and getting a deep cleaning. And when you smile, those teeth are still there that you had back then. And they're a little bit nicer and shinier and brighter. So that's what we did. We uncovered and shoveled away all that dirt that covered up the true essence of the band. And also being on tour, playing those classic Biohazard songs for, around the world for all this time since we got back together, it pumped that early energy of Biohazard into our veins every day, every night, 24/7, 365 for the past few years that we've been doing it. So we came off the road and went right in the studio to do the record, and it just seemed that everything seemed to fit at the right time, in the right way, and here we are with a record that I'm most proud of, called "Divided We Fall." It comes out next week, and I'm fucking psyched, bro. So
For me, it's the best album you guys have done since State of the World Address. I have no doubts about that. Best record, and it stands beside it, not underneath it, not below it. It stands beside that in Urban Discipline as for my three favorite Biohazard records of all time. And for me, it was like this. I've been a fan of you guys even before Urban Discipline. I remember seeing an interview you guys did with MTV Headbangers Ball where you guys talk about your debut record, and you guys told fans not to buy it, to go steal it, do whatever, but don't buy it. I remember seeing that interview on MTV Headbangers Ball, and I was like, well, I bought it, so I guess I missed the memo. I got the memo late, so because I bought the debut record, I have the CD at home, and when I look back at that time period of you and the band, what attracted me to the band was I always felt like you guys were those bands that picked up the instruments, and what happens when you start playing is what happens when you start playing. And you just kind of go with the vibe and you go with the flow and you capture that essence of that specific moment in time, and that becomes the song. So coming into this record, I was like, times have changed. We're 2025 now. Are they going to over polish this record? Are they going to overproduce the album? Are they going to try to be Biohazard 2025? And the moment I press play on the record, I'm like, no, fuck, this album has been stuck on a time capsule from some fucking somewhere in time. And you guys had that same vibe. That was what attracted me to the band, was that ability to create music that doesn't feel contrived, that doesn't feel manufactured, that just feels right in the moment.
we there was a video I made, and I should post this. It's really cool. We were writing, we were working on a couple songs. We were on tour. We had a break, like we had a weekend off, and we came back to my place. And I own a studio here in LA, and I got some really big rooms for drum sounds and jamming and stuff like that. It's awesome. But I put the band in my vocal booth. It's right behind the control room, and it's 10 feet by 10 feet, small room, like our old rehearsal places back in the day. And we put the amps in there and the drum kit. You couldn't move. I couldn't turn around and not hit my guitar stock against a cymbal stand or Bobby's guitar or something like that. Evan was in the corner. Danny was in the corner. I was in one corner. Bobby was in the other corner. But we were 2 feet away from each other playing. And we were working on this song, and the energy and the way the room compressed the sound, it was fucking so powerful. I had a buddy film, and that video, I took the camera after, and I went outside and I said, yo, and I sent it to my producer, Matt. And I said, Matt, this is the shit. We don't need fucking any polish. We don't need to record in a big giant fucking studio. All we need to do is capture that raw energy of the band of when we play together in the room at the same time. Because when we do this, look at this fucking video. It sounds like Biohazard in 1990. And so that was the energy we had while we were on tour. It's the energy we have now, but it was the energy that we kept in the studio, and it worked. So the video is pretty cool. I remember sending it to Matt. He's like, exactly, bro. That's what I'm talking about. We don't need we don't need to sound bigger or heavier or better than anybody else. We just need to be Biohazard. And he also said this to me. He goes, yo, you guys created Biohazard. Just it's easy. Just be you.
Yeah, 100%. You know, I got a funny story to tell you. I went to see Lamb of God a couple of years back, well, more than a couple of years back, with a friend of mine who's also a Biohazard fan, and we're watching the show, and the guitar player starts doing the Bobby Spinaroonies, you know, when he's playing guitar like that stuff, and he's like, "Fuck, man, I think they owe Bobby from Biohazard some royalties on that because that was like such a trademark move of you guys when you guys played live." So I think the impact that you guys have had, not just on fans, but on the scene in general, has been felt over the years. And I think Divided We Fall is a record that kind of celebrates that. And now it's the culmination of the most anticipated return, at least for me. Like I can't wait to see you guys live. I'm planning on coming to the Toronto show. How's things going? I know there's been some talk about some issues on this tour run, but what can you share?
I share everything. Um, we're on tour with Onyx uh, and Bayway and Swollen Teeth. Onyx, we are on tour in Ireland, and we're playing sold out show. We walk off stage, fucking towel off, get some water. And it's right there. It's Onyx. They showed up and they're like, "Yo, let's play a song." And we're like, "What?" We never fucking played like songs like that live. I did a version with Billy Bio, but as a Biohazard, we never did it. So like we're like, "I don't know, what are we gonna play?" And Onyx guys were like, "I don't know, just figure it out." So we went on stage and we fucking played Slam, and it was awesome. All the kids filmed it. It was on the internet the next day, and everybody, the comments, people were just going off about it. And I was like, maybe we can go put this together and make a tour together. So we did, and that's what we're doing now. There was a couple of shows that were canceled, and I won't go into the details because I already got fucking trouble for that. But the um the we didn't cancel. That's all I'm going to say. We didn't cancel the shows. It was somebody else, but it is what it is. And Toronto, we can't wait for Toronto. It's going to be killer. So come and say hi. I will pay you back for buying my first record because I told everybody, and I'll buy you a drink.
Listen, I have a favor for you. If I bring the CD with me, will you guys sign it?
Of course,
All right, I'll bring it. I'll bring the album with me.
we are doing a cool thing. We never did this before because we were kind of always against it. But I learned I learned this with Billy Bio. I was Biohazard. We would always go on tour, and we always wanted to say hi to everybody. We'd come out to the merch booth, we'd shake hands, and we were very approachable. We were never like standoffish, like, "Oh, we're too cool or too important to spend time with you." And a lot of bands, it's a tiring thing to be on tour. So I get it. They a lot of bands like to hang out backstage and kind of just get their energy together for the show. But when you come out into the merch booth, or you stand on the side of stage, or you're watching the opening bands, and you meet people, there's never enough time. There's somebody wants to tell you a story, or you guys want to have a conversation, and it's either too loud or somebody else wants your attention. Enough time. So with Billy Bio, I created a Patreon page, and that way I can spend time with people, talk to them, share ideas, share stories, and it works. It's called Billy Biohazard. But my point is, with Biohazard, I told the guys about this way of spending more time with fans, and somebody suggested doing like these VIP meet and greets. And I've seen them. I went to them with Pantera, and Metallica, all these great moments. And what we do that's different is, you come and it's an experience. You hang out. You hang out with us during sound check. We bullshit. We talk, tell stories. You watch sound check, and then we go hang out in another room. We stop. You can bring anything you want. We sign it. We have it's a more of a hangout. It's not like a meet and greet where you stand in front of a logo, and the band stands there and like, "Hey, Nice to meet you. And you don't even talk about stories or exchange names. And a lot of bands do that. This is more of a cooler experience. So we're doing that, which is cool. Um, but I can't wait for the show. It's going to be awesome. We got two Canadian shows, unfortunately, not Vancouver, but we'll make it there.
Well, I'll be seeing you in Toronto. I'm gonna check that out. I said to a buddy of mine, I was at a show the other night, and he asked me if I was buying any merch. I said no, I'm saving it for the Biohazard show because uh, I gotta break the bank and pick up some merch because my Urban Discipline T-shirt from back in the day is. I had to put that one to pasture. Like it was just not even had a neck anymore. It was just all ruined and stuff. So I need to spend some money on some merch. So on the description of this video, I'll put some links for your Patreon, for the VIP meet and greet, for all of that shit, so people can pick it up. And I'll be seeing you in Toronto, man. I'll make sure I'll bring that debut record with me. I'm sure you're very fond of it, and
Of course.
I spend my allowance on it, and I'll bring it with me.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate you. Thank you for the support, and thanks for your time, brother. Obrigado
No
por tudo.
problem. Take care, man. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, brother. Peace.